Thank you all very much. We really appreciate you being here today.
Can you explain that you still don't know what happened in Helsinki as the Director of National Intelligence?
We'll take a couple more questions on other topics today. Jill, go ahead.
Thank you. I want to ask about the president's tweet on North Korea. He was addressing Kim Jong-un, and he said, quote, "I look forward to seeing you soon." Are there plans in place right now, any discussion about a second meeting? And also, he said he received a letter from Kim. What did the letter say, and did it address any of the reports that appear to show that Kim is not actually working towards denuclearization?
That's a lot of questions rolled into one. I'll try to address each one, and if I miss something, I'm sure you guys will point it out. He did receive a letter. I believe he received it on August 1st. There is not a second meeting that is currently locked in or finalized. Certainly open to that discussion, but there isn't a meeting planned. We have responded to Chairman Kim's letter. The president has, and that letter will be delivered shortly. Beyond that, I can't get into any further details.
Whether he addressed the concerns of potentially building.
I can say that the letters addressed their commitment from their joint statement, and that was made at the Singapore summit, and they're going to continue working together towards complete and total denuclearization.
Letter specifically address that?
Again, I can't go any further than what I just told you.
Ivanka Trump made two statements this morning at odds with the positions of her father. She said the media are not the enemy of the people, and also called family separation at the border a low point. But what does the president think of those statements?
Certainly, the president himself has stated that he doesn't like the idea of family separation. I don't think anybody does. We also don't like the idea of open borders. We don't like the idea of allowing people into our country if we don't know who they are, where they're going, and why they're coming. The president wants to secure our borders, which is why he has asked Congress to fix the law. We haven't been unclear about what our position is here. We want to secure the borders. We want to change the law. It's Congress's job to do that. We'd like them, particularly Democrats, to stop playing political games and step up and do their jobs.
Cannot the press be the enemy of the people or not?
The president's rightfully frustrated. 90% of the coverage on him is negative, despite the fact that the economy is booming, ISIS is on the run, and American leadership is being reasserted around the world. Just this week, the media refused to cover his remarks in Florida, highlighting efforts on workforce development. In fact, the pooler for the press said that there was no news made, despite the fact that the governor of the state joined with dozens of businesses across the state of Florida to announce thousands of new jobs. That may not be news in Washington, D.C., but I can assure you that it's news in the state of Florida that people that didn't have a job before this president took office have better opportunity and the opportunity to have a job moving forward. That's actually real news and something that people in the state of Florida and across this country appreciate, and that was totally ignored. Not only that, before a journalist on CNN claimed that the president hadn't taken questions in over a week, despite the fact that same journalist did a live shot from the 2-2 press conference that the president had with the Prime Minister of Italy just moments after making that accusation. With this sort of misinformation and lack of interest that's so pervasive in the media, it's completely understandable for the president to be frustrated. John Decker. Sorry, John Decker, go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. I wanted to ask you about the conference call that took place yesterday involving U.S.-China trade relations. Is there a timeline as to when or if the president may pull the trigger and impose harsher sanctions on China, harsher tariffs on China?
We're continuing to monitor that process, and when we have an announcement on that, we'll certainly let you know.
Sarah, is the goal at the end of the day, is the goal at the end of the day to get China back to the negotiating table the way they were at the negotiating table with American trade officials just a few months ago?
The goal at the end of the day is to end the unfair trade practices that China has engaged in for decades and that the administrations before this president have ignored. Jonathan.
Returning to the question of election security, the president has said other people also may have been involved in the efforts to interfere with the 2016 election. Did any of the people that we saw up here, has there been any evidence from the intelligence community that there were others besides Russia that were involved in election meddling?
Certainly we know there are others, and we know that there are others that are considering making attempts in 2018, which is what our focus is moving forward. As you know, none of us were here in 2016, but we're here now, and the individuals that were standing up here just moments ago, the focus and the full weight of the government asked by the the president and directed by the president is to protect the election infrastructure in 2018 and moving forward, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
But who were the others? Who were the others that were involved in interference in 2016?
I can't get into specific details, but our intelligence shows that there are a number of others that are looking at and considering engaging, particularly in 2018.
And he also said that they're trying to help Democrats. He suggested that the Russians would be trying to help Democrats in the midterm elections. Has there been any evidence whatsoever that that Russians are trying to help Democrats in the 2018
Well,
election?
I think you can see just from what took place over in the Facebook. I know Director Wray wasn't at liberty to speak about the specifics, and I can't get into a lot of them, but I can tell you that a number of them were anti-President Trump, and that certainly isn't helping Republicans. John?
Sarah?
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, I called you before. Sorry, go ahead.
I wanted you to respond, if you could, to the CAFE standards rule that was proposed by the administration today. The 20 states attorney general that have already said that they will sue this administration. This is part of their complaint. They say freezing or weakening these standards put the health of our children, seniors, and communities at risk. It also increases the rising cost of climate change for our states. The administration's response would be what?
That the reporting that we're reversing Obama-era fuel efficiency standards and preempting the tougher California standards is simply false. What the EPA released yesterday was a notice of proposed rulemaking, not a final rule. The notice lays out a series of options for how to go forward with CAFE standards, and the notice asks for comments on the range of options. We're simply opening it up for a comment period, and we'll make a final decision at the end of that.
And on the move from 10 to 25%,
I'm sorry?
on the move on tariffs potentially from 10 to 25%, what was the thing that made the president say this is why I want to do it?
Again, the president's been clear. He's going to hold China's feet to the fire, and he wants to stop the unfair trade practices. Emerald?
Hey, Sarah, since you attacked our news organization,
Emerald, go ahead.
can I get a question from
Sorry,
you?
I'll
before
come to
this-
you next, Jim.
Okay,
Emerald,
thank
go
you.
ahead.
Going back to election security, the other night in Tampa, the president mentioned voter IDs for elections. Going forward with election security, is the administration looking at proposing a voter ID law or pushing a voter ID law?
I'm sorry, what was the last part of your question? There's a lot of feedback, so I'm having a hard time hearing in the
Is the
back.
administration, as part of this election security push, also looking to do a voter ID law to try to push something like that through Congress?
Look, we're looking to do everything we can at this point to protect the 2018 elections, the integrity of those elections, and moving on beyond 2018 to 2020 and after. We haven't made a final decision, but certainly looking at every option available to us. It's not unreasonable. If I return something to a department store, if I have to cash a check, I have to show my ID in order to do those things. It's not outrageous that if you're going to vote to decide on who the leaders of the local communities, your state, and the federal government are going to be, that you would be asked to show an ID. Jim?
I just wanted to follow up on Sarah's question from NPR. She asked you about Ivanka Trump's statement that the press is not the enemy of the people. And she asked you whether or not the press is the enemy of the people. You read off a laundry list of your concerns about the press and things that you feel like are misreported, but you did not say that the press is not the enemy of the people. And I think it would be a good thing if you were to say right here at this briefing that the press, the people who are gathered in this room right now, doing their jobs every day, asking questions of officials like the ones you brought forward earlier, are not the enemy of the people. I think we deserve that.
I think the president has made his position known. I also think it's ironic.
Would you mind telling us,
I'm trying to
Sarah,
answer your
okay,
question.
well,
I politely waited, and I even called on you despite the fact that you interrupted me while calling on your colleague.
well, you
I said it's
attacked our
ironic.
organization, which is why I interrupted.
I'm trying.
But if you finish, if you would not mind letting me have a follow-up, that would be fine. But
It's ironic, Jim, that not only you and the media attack the president for his rhetoric when they frequently lower the level of conversation in this country. Repeatedly, the media resorts to personal attacks without any content other than to incite anger. The media has attacked me personally on a number of occasions, including your own network, said I should be harassed as a life sentence, that I should be choked. ICE officials are not welcomed in their place of worship, and personal information is shared on the internet. When I was hosted by the Correspondents Association, of which almost all of you are members of, you brought a comedian up to attack my appearance and call me a traitor to my own gender. In fact, as far as I know, I'm the first press secretary in the history of the United States that's required required Secret Service protection.
Tell that
The
to the
media
5 dead
continues
people
to
in
ratchet
Annapolis.
up the verbal
hang on,
assault
don't finish.
against the president and everyone in this administration. And certainly we have a role to play, but the media has a role to play for the discourse in this country as well.
And Sarah, if you don't mind, if I may follow up, excuse me, you did not say in the course of those remarks that you just made that the press is not the enemy of the people. Are we to take it from what you just said, we all get put through the ringer, we all get put in the meat grinder in this town, and you're no exception. And I'm sorry that that happened to you. I wish that had not happened. But for the sake of this room, the people who are in this room, this democracy, this country, all the people around the world are watching what you're saying, Sarah, and the White House for the United States of America, the President of the United States should not refer to us as the enemy of the people. His own daughter acknowledges that, and all I'm asking you to do, Sarah, is to acknowledge that right now and right here.
I appreciate your passion. I share it. I've addressed this question. I've addressed my personal feelings. I'm here to speak on behalf of the president. He's made his comments clear. Ed, go ahead.
On another matter, the National Archives told the Senate Judiciary Committee chairman today that they probably aren't going to be able to finish up the document collection regarding Brett Kavanaugh until October. That's obviously later than the timetable I know you guys and Senate Republicans are hoping for. Any comment on that or any potential assistance that the White House can give the archives in accelerating that?
Certainly, we want to be as helpful as possible in turning over as many documents. Several senators have stated there will be up to and over 1 million pages of documents to review, including over 300 judicial opinions. His documents as staff secretary tell us the least about his judicial thinking than the 1 million pages from his other work, including his judicial opinions. We want a thorough evaluation. We've asked for that, but we don't want a taxpayer-funded fishing expedition. We want to continue to be cooperative, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I'll take a last question,
I have
Jordan.
one more from the right side.
Thanks, Sarah. I want to follow up on the third part of Jill's question from earlier on North Korea. We're nearing now the 2-month mark from the Singapore summit. So is the president satisfied with the progress North Korea is making toward denuclearization?
The president won't be completely satisfied until all of Korea has been denuclearized. We're going to continue moving forward. We've seen steps of progress and continued cooperation. We're incredibly grateful and thankful for the remains of the service members that were returned yesterday. And we're going to continue to work with North Korea. I think that's a great place to close out. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good day.
Be up in Ascension, the 13.